I'm actually at Ready Room right now. This is one of our rooms at Ready Room. And my name is Manny. I'm a physio, and I'll be hosting the seminar. I don't usually wear a hat in a professional setting. So it's because of the quarantine or the social distancing. I haven't got a haircut in a while, so I couldn't tame it. So that's why I'm wearing a hat. Hopefully that's okay for you guys. So what we'll do is, I think we'll get started. I think everyone's here. So welcome. We're going to be talking about how to manage your desk or manage working at home and setting up a desk. So here we go. Can everyone see my screen here? Perfect. Great. Okay. So here we go. Let's get started here. So again, welcome. We are going to be talking about how to work healthy from home. So hopefully during this stressful time, you're not like this person here, stressed out on a laptop, working at home, just nowhere to go, managing tough times. So what we'll do is trying to be as helpful to you as possible. So we're going to try to teach you from our expertise as a physio how to work from home in a healthy manner. So before we start, let's go from here. So that's how I usually look with my haircut. My name is Manny. I'm a registered physio, and I am the owner and founder of Ready Room Health and Performance. Some of you know that I'm pretty active on social media, so that's my social media handle there, PT Manny. I use a couple hashtags if you want to follow along. There's some great health tips on Ready Room Tips, and some movement challenges that some of you have seen already, so you can kind of follow along. Just some logistical stuff to get out of the way first. So as a physio, I don't know if you see the top right corner, I usually do these things live, like in person. I'm not too well versed in doing these webinars. So the platform we're using, I think only can allow us to do 40-minute sessions. I'm pretty sure we're gonna be within the 40 minutes. But just in case the video cuts out, there's going to be two links. I sent you the email. There's another link below. So if this one cuts out, we're going to use the other link. So just in case. So also we have Rudy again on our call. That's Rudy there. He's our chiropractor. He'll be modulating the chat. So if you have any questions, feel free to pop them up, and he will do his best to answer, and I'll do my best to answer. We will be answering each question in some form, whether it be on here or through email or through written form. And we are recording this webinar, so we'll be able to send you, we'll probably put it up on YouTube and have it access for you to see over again if you want to watch it again. Okay. So the topics we're going to cover today. Let me see here. Sorry, give me 1 second. So I'll make sure there's no more stragglers coming in. I don't know how to. Anyways, okay. So with our health topics, we're going to cover is how to set up a workstation at home. A lot of us have been forced to kind of work from home, so it's a bit of a change of environment. So learning how to set that up ideally would be best, and then some strategies to kind of manage at home. So how to go about there, and then we're going to talk about some stretches and exercises to do at your workstation or at home. So what I always do with my seminars is show this picture here. So who's heard of that parable? If you teach a man how to fish, you feed him a lifetime. Or if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. So what I want to do is today just teach you both how to fish and also give you a couple of fish to start. So what we're going to do is give you some principles. So that's how to fish, and then some practical stuff so that you actually can take home some stuff right away. So we're going to go over kind of how to set up the workstation right now. So this is the principle number one. So this picture here is what we call ideal sitting posture. Ideal is in quotations. We'll talk about that in a bit later. But what you want to do actually is sit in a position where you're 90, 90, 90. So for your elbow, hip, and knee, they should be relatively in a 90-degree position. So if you're sitting, that's kind of what you want to be ideally. Everything else, your neck, low back, mid back, wrist, ankle should be in a neutral position. So that is typically what we define as ideal sitting posture. So I know a lot of people don't sit that way, but we'll kind of discuss why this is ideal. So this sitting posture actually minimizes the tension on our body. And that's because of this principle here. So joints actually like to move to its end range, but also it likes to rest or settle around in the middle. So if you take a look at the sitting posture here, we'll use the elbow, for example. If you can still see me on the screen, if I flex my elbow all the way, that's the end range. And if I go the opposite way, extend the elbow, that's the opposite end range. 90 degrees is relatively in the middle. So what we want to do is that puts less pressure onto your elbow. Same thing with your hip. If sitting in this position, you can still move your hip forward, move your hip back, so it's relatively in the middle of its range. So that's usually a good thing. And then with the knees too, you can extend the knee and bring the knees back. So that's relatively in the middle of the range. Everything else, the middle, is actually neutral. So for my neck, if I flex my neck, extend my neck, go side to side, that's typically the end range. So you want to be relatively in the middle and work around in the middle. That's the best, the least amount of stress for your body is if your joints are in the middle. Okay. So with that said, then we're going to go to practical advice number one. So how you set up your workstation is if you have screens, you want to set up your screen so that it is pretty close to this neutral. So most of us, who here works with laptops a lot? Yeah, I got one. I can see one. So yeah, with laptops, basically, laptops are usually like this, right? Pardon my horrible drawing. But when you do that, your eyes and your head usually have to go forward a bit. So what happens is it takes your neck out of neutral. So then it puts more stress onto the muscles on the back and the joints in the neck. So what you want to do if you're working on a laptop and you work a lot is actually raise the laptop if you can. Of course, you're not going to be typing like this because then your arms are going to be out. You want to put it on something and perhaps get an external keyboard so that you can start typing so that your head is still eye level. So you want the screens to be relatively eye level to you or slightly lower. This is going to be the best case for your neck. Okay, so external keyboard would be good for that. It's tough to do this if you're working on a laptop. If you have multiple screens, some people need 2 screens. Your main screen should be directly in front of you, eye level, if possible. And if you have another screen off to the side, if you're going to be turning your neck a lot, I'd rather you turn your body so that you can maintain that kind of neutral position. So if you're looking, and if your main screen is off to the side and you're always looking, turning your neck, you're going to put more stress on the neck that way. Okay, so let me see if I can erase all this stuff. All right. So the next thing we want to do is your keyboard. So for some people with wider shoulders, to keep that kind of neutral position of your wrist. So your wrist is neutral if you look through the middle finger. Your middle finger, if it goes directly through your arm, that's neutral. If you're cup your wrist like this, then that's not quite the best way. So for people with broader shoulders, when you're typing on a keyboard, you might need to kind of cock your wrists. So sometimes for people in that position, getting those keyboards that have a little bit like more wide angle and typing like this might be better off. So you just have to kind of be able to manage on your own, see if you can get into this ideal position for your keyboard. For people who use laptops, getting an external keyboard is usually the best case scenario. Okay, and then for the next one, whoops, we skipped the mouse there. So people who usually mouse around a lot, try to use two hands. Try not to be using one hand all the time. I know that's weird, but it decreases the stress. Try to keep your hand relatively neutral. So try not to kind of hold your mouse like this position here. Try to keep your wrist relatively neutral. So if you bend your wrist all the way and bend your wrist all the way this way, you want to be relatively in the middle. And for the chair, this chair is not quite the best chair. You want some lumbar support. So naturally, our joints in the back actually have a bit of a lordosis. So you want something to support your back here. So either something rolled up or a lumbar support would be good. You want to be able to kind of keep this neutral. And for people with neck pain, and a lot of people have neck pain working on a computer, you might want to actually have a chair that's a bit higher so it supports your head. Okay, you want to be able to support your head to there, and that's the best case scenario. So those are a couple things to watch out for. Basically, you want to support this ideal sitting posture. And then the workstation, everybody's body's a little different, especially for this too. For people who have who are shorter and have shorter legs, sometimes your legs are dangling and it can put a lot of pressure in through here. So getting a workstation that goes up and down might be a good idea, like a standing desk. But you don't want to put too much pressure behind the knee if you're dangling your feet. So if that's the case, you can put something underneath here. You can put something underneath your feet so that you can, like right here, so that you can raise your feet up so that you're at 90 degrees. Okay, so this is all good advice and all if you can set up something like this at home. However, sorry here, hold on 1 second. However, don't we just all end up working like this anyway at home? Like, to be honest, like this is the practicality of things. Like a lot of us are going to be working on a countertop, no support in the back on a stool, sitting at a edge of a couch, looking down at a laptop, legs crossed like this, or in bed. So this is kind of probably what most people are doing anyway at home. But what I want to say is this is actually okay. It's okay to work like this if you have strategies to stay healthy wherever you work. So we're going to go through some principles and practical advice on kind of strategies to stay healthy. So the principle I want to go over is, we talked about ideal sitting posture in quotations. What is the best posture is actually the next posture. So what that means is actually moving around is better than, even if you're in the most ideal sitting posture, moving around throughout the day is actually better than statically being still. And that's because of this principle here. So creep. Who knows what a creep is, or what creep is? Not people or anything like that. This principle is actually, if you hold attention on an object, so a constant tension, that object will start elongating and bending towards that tension. So what happens is, if you're at end range, so if my neck is flexed, even if it's in a normal range of motion, if you hold it there long enough, the tension of your head is actually going to creep and elongate the tissues so that you might actually end up in a position that's not within your normal range of motion. So if you are holding long periods of time statically, it can put a lot of tension onto the muscle. So if you can see this graph here, our head is usually about 10 to 12, 15 pounds. So if your head's at 0 degrees in neutral, you put about that much weight of force through your neck. for every couple of degrees you kind of go down, you start adding more and more force into the neck. So you want to be careful, because if you're in the last position here, in the very end, what you can do is put a lot of force, and then creep will start putting more and more force into that. So moving around, and the thing with creep is it's reversible once the force is released. So if you get out of that position, then you kind of reset and the tissues, and you want to be doing that throughout the day. Okay, so that's why you want to be moving around more often. So the practical advice then is, if you're working like this, you want to just keep moving around. So if you're working at a workstation at your countertop, you want to move down to the chair. That's all good, as long as you move major positions every 60 minutes, every hour. That is considered good. I don't mind that at all. That's a great way to go about it. Ideally, again, you want to sit in an ideal position, but if you can't, just move around between these positions. Okay. So moving around major positions also includes standing up. So if you have a standing desk at home, you can start every hour, you can just move up to standing. So there's a picture on the side here of someone with good standing posture. If you draw a plumb line, which is a straight line down through gravity, you want it to pass the ear, the shoulder, the lateral hip, the knee, and the ankle. So that's considered good standing posture, or ideal standing posture. If you draw a line straight through the other picture, you're not quite going to get the same results that transects those positions. So that's one thing you can do, is stand up. If you're walking around, like if you're taking a call and you don't really need to be at a computer, just start walking around. That's considered part of your major move position. So just start walking around. Another thing is getting a drink. We're very underhydrated as a society. So people often here drink 8 cups a day of water. I usually recommend half an ounce per pound you weigh. So I weigh 170 pounds. So I should be drinking, that's 85 ounces. 34 is about 1 liter. So I should be drinking about 2.5 liters of water. So that's something, if you schedule those breaks in, you'll actually get up and move around and change positions. And another thing is schedule in some mobility and stretches, which we'll go over in a bit, every hour if you can. So another why an hour is good is where our attention spans usually for pure focus and flow state is roughly 60 minutes. So, or 60 minutes to 90 minutes. So you want to kind of schedule your time that way, so then you can do focused work too, and then get up and just be physically healthier in that position. Okay. So if you can't really move too much, and you can't you have your boss. I know some of you were invited by your boss to this webinar. So if you have your boss that's on you and you need to get stuff done and you can't really move, I recommend then you move minorly or in minor positions every 15 minutes. So you've seen me, you're watching me, you see me fidget throughout this whole kind of presentation. That's a great mechanism just to get your attention off different areas. And then take micro breaks. So just a quick little sip of water, do a little bit of mobility, move in and out of your end ranges. So like I said before, your joints like to go to its end range. So for your wrists, every once in a while, just go to the end ranges, just do a couple wrist rolls. Those are all good things to do to take micro breaks. So one thing we want to kind of promote is you should actually know where your end ranges are for your different joints. Sometimes you might be going too far or too little. So if you know where your end ranges are, you can end up going to your end ranges every once in a while and just take that micro break. So like arching your back, rounding your back, that type of stuff, just get to your end ranges throughout the day, every 15 minutes or so. Okay, it doesn't have to be all your body, just kind of where you feel tension build up. All right. So now we're going to go to the principles and practical advice for exercises and stretches. We're going to be going over some common areas where tension builds up during a workday, especially for people on a computer working from home. So I've highlighted about 6 different areas. Wrist is one, chest area is another one. Neck is probably the biggest one. You have also the mid back, the low back, and the hip. So those areas tend to be where all the tension builds up. And if you want to get some more exercise advice, follow our Ready Room Health Facebook and Instagram account. We'll be giving out more actually targeted video exercises on these areas and stretches for these areas. So be sure to follow along there. Okay, so we're gonna go over a couple things. So let's take a look at the chat. I haven't been monitoring that too much, but where are people having the most trouble with these during the day? Is it neck, shoulder? I'm just gonna see if I can access the chat here. Okay. Hips and shoulder, shoulder into the neck. Yeah, so shoulder is usually neck, yeah, mid back. Okay, so we're gonna spend the next little bit now. We're gonna go over, some mobility exercises and stretches, and you wanna do these throughout the day. Quick little note in terms of what's the difference between mobility and stretching. Mobility is an active exercise. So if you can actively go to those end ranges, that's a mobility exercise. You're controlling the range of motion actively. Whereas stretching, sometimes you passively pull those structures a little bit more. So it's a small little difference, but if you kind of know that, then you can do some mobility. Mobility can be just rolling your wrists, rolling your neck. Those are all mobility drills and exercises, and then stretching is more if you have really tense muscles, you can do some passive stretching. That way you can relieve some tension. So we'll go into some of those now. So we're gonna stop this here. Can everyone see my screen? Just my screen now? Okay. Good. So we'll start off with the neck and shoulder, since that seems to be the thing that's the most. So what you want to do is I'm going to set this down a little bit more. So the most common spot for the neck is actually through here. That's tense. So most people can relate, or even back here. So to stretch that, you want to take your hand. So say you're stretching the right side. You're going to take your right hand, either sit on your hand or grab hold of the chair. So right here, grab hold of the chair or sit on your hand, either or. So when you do that, it's going to anchor down the shoulder, and you're going to take your ear and to the shoulder. So you're listening to the shoulder. So you're going here, and then you're going to take your other hand and pull into the side, and you should feel a nice pull through here. And for these stretches, you want to hold for a good 30 seconds. So the good thing about this stretch is if you're reading something on your computer, you can be doing this stretch while you're reading. And that way you release some tension, and then you can keep going if you really have a deadline to meet. So that's number one. That's one stretch. It's called a trap stretch. So why you anchor down with the hand is if you take your hand out and try it again, you're not going to get as deep of a stretch. You want to have your hand pinned down or anchored down to something. Okay, so that's one stretch. If you feel more tense back in here, you actually want to then go nose to shoulder. So no, sorry, nose to armpit. So you're going to sniff your armpit. Okay, so again, anchor down. Bring your nose down to your armpit, and then pull and go down there. You should feel that more in the back and more into here. So again, 30 seconds is a good time frame. But ideally, if you can get in 15 minutes or 15 seconds, 10 seconds as a micro break, that's good too. That's just a good break to get out of their position. Okay, so that's something you want to go. Okay, and then next thing for your shoulders is people have rounded shoulders a lot. So if you're working on a computer like this, rounded, you're gonna get tight chest muscles. So what you can do is actually put your hand, the easiest way to stay at your desk and keep stretching is to put your hands behind your head and then just try to push your shoulder blades back and even arch back. So if you go here and just kind of arch back, you'll feel a nice tug through the chest. So that's a great way to kind of go stretch through there. Okay, so that's a good way. Again, 30 seconds is best. 15 seconds even, that's great. I saw a couple mid-back ones. So a mid-back for you is a good stretch is doing some cat camels or doing some arching at your desk. If you're here, you're working, just rounding your back and looking down, and then arching and looking up, going back and forth. This will be more of like a mobility drill, just going back and forth. Or some people, if they have a lower back chair, if you arch over top of the chair, you can get some mobility through that way. So just being able to go in and out is a great way to get your mid-back going. Again, doesn't have to be much, just go throughout the day. That's a great way. And then doing some rotation. So our mid-back is good for rotation, just turning and reaching side to side. Some of us naturally do this already because they feel like it helps. This is just a great way to formalize it. So we're showing a lot of stuff. Again, you don't need to do everything. Just listen to your body, what it needs at that moment, and then see if you can add those in. Okay. So that's for your mid back. For your hip, some people have hip tightness. So what I recommend sometimes is actually to sit at the edge of your chair and put your knee down, and then just kind of lean forward, and you can get a good stretch through your hip throughout your work. So you can continue working and stretch out the hip a little bit. So if you have a rolling chair, you can do some kind of movement through here, or even if you're just sitting in a normal chair, just bring your leg back and you can do some stretching. You should feel a nice stretch through here as you work. So most people have really tight hip flexors. That's a great way throughout the day to try to loosen that up. Okay, so what else do we do? Low back. Tightness, what you can do is go here. If you have a rolling chair, roll out and just do a modified child's pose. You can really kind of feel the stretch through the low back there. That's another way to go about that one. Again, if you're doing stretches, 30 seconds. Mobility stuff, you can just do as many reps as you can. Okay, and then what else? So wrists. If you have really tight wrists, you can go through here and do some stretches this way. So elbow straight, palm out, and then pull down, and then go through here the opposite way. Okay, you should feel it through here. Or you can do, again, wrist rolls would be mobility drills. This would be passive. So my recommendation is for every hour, spend about at least 2 minutes doing some sort of stretch or mobility throughout your workday. Okay. All right. So let's get back into. Can everyone see my screen now? Yeah. Okay. So in summary, what we want to actually do is do a little pop quiz. So this guy here, he is sitting at his desk. Is this good, bad, or ideal? Can anyone kind of throw up some answers on the chat here? Bad. Yeah, okay. So let's just rule it out. It's definitely not ideal. Like we've gone over ideal sitting posture. It's not quite ideal. However, it's not bad to be in this position for a short period of time. It's actually okay. You want you want to. It's okay to go to your end ranges every once in a while. However, it gets bad if you're holding this position uh, for more than an hour because of the concept of creep we talked about earlier. As the tissue, if you hold it for a long period of time, it gets closer and closer to further into its end range and can irritate joints. So for this guy here, his knees are probably going to feel it if he is in this position for more than an hour. His head's forward, uh, or his body's rounded, his head's cocked back. So these are at its end ranges. So it's going to start getting irritating after a while. So you want to keep moving in and out. Okay. So there's a lot of words on this screen here. So we're just going to go over quickly the principles we went over. So we went over ideal sitting posture or sitting position. We'll go over joints like to go to its end ranges, but they like to rest and operate kind of in the middle of the range. So for most people, if you don't know where you should be, just move your joints and then find the middle. And that's usually kind of where you want to be. The best posture is the next posture, meaning movement is always better than static positions. Concept of creep. If you are holding a position at end range or putting tension, your body's going to keep putting more and more tension. So you want to offload that. So you want to keep the creep away. Okay, so some practical advice is we went over setting up a workstation to, if you can, to meet the ideal sitting position. But if you can't, try to move major positions every 60 minutes and move minor positions every 15 minutes. Okay, and try to do your stretches and mobility exercise throughout the day. 2 minutes every hour is a really good kind of time frame. And tailor it to you. If you're tight certain areas, just do those. You don't have to do everything. Okay, just something. Just something, not everything. Okay. All right, so a little bit about us. We're Ready Room Health and Performance. This is our office. I'm actually in the office right now, but we're physically closed. We do offer physiotherapy, chiropractic, massage, and performance training. But right now, and our model is helping you get ready for anything. So if you have any physical health goals, we can kind of help you achieve those. And although we're physically closed, we actually are now open for telehealth appointments. So it'll be very similar to this. If you have any aches and pains, don't guess, get assessed. We can teach you some things and exercise and have some guided exercise or give you some management recommendations. We can also evaluate your workstation. We can use the video to see, and I can give you some recommendations. And now with the changing of the times with this COVID crisis, just so you know, the video is about to cut out. So it's less than a minute, it says. So we're probably going to need to go into the other link, but it is now covered by insurance by most players. So just check with your insurance company, but Sun Life is covering it. Most people are covering it. We are offering a 30-minute Ask Me Anything session. I'm hosting it at this coming Monday at 7 p.m. And then Rudy's hosting one on Saturday at 4 p.m. And we're also thinking of offering live classes. So if you want to join some live classes where we're going to go over some stretching exercises, you can join our email list. And we're thinking of doing some other health topics. So email us if you have anything that you're interested in. And of course, thank you. We're going to be, thank you so much for attending. If you want to reach us, you can reach us at info@readyroomhealth.com, and that's our number. Thanks so much. We won't use the other link. I think we're going to be okay. But yeah, thank you so much for joining. We've copied down the questions, so we'll get to it in a bit. So I'll try to send, for people who came in late, I'll send this video out through our email. Okay. Thanks so much for your time. We will be hosting some other webinars, so be on the lookout for that. Okay. Thank you so much. Hopefully you learned something. And yeah, take something away from here. I know it's a stressful time, so hope everyone stays safe. And yeah, enjoy your stretching, okay? Take care.